Hi, I'm Gordon Swooter. I'm one of your guests of honor this year. This is my wife, Jennifer.
I'm Jennifer. I'm the shadow guest of honor this year.
Yeah. She's the ghost of honor.
Ghost of honor.
Today at Friday, July 3rd, 8:30 p.m. in the Doubletree Atrium 4, we are talking about other than Muppets. When I first was asked to be a guest of honor, I went to the Convergence Facebook page because I really was curious what people wanted to see. What do you want me to talk about? I've got a pretty large volume of stuff I can talk about, so I just kind of posted. I said, so what kind of panels would you like me to see me do? And immediately several people said, do a Henson retrospective. And I was like, if you really want to see a Henson retrospective, just go to YouTube and type in Henson. It's all there. You don't have to search for Henson stuff. It's on YouTube. You can find it. In fact, I think the Henson Company has their own YouTube channel.
We found a lot of times that people who ask for the Henson retrospective know more about Henson than even we do. So it's kind of an interesting sort of thing. It's like, talk about something we already know about.
Yeah. We knew Jerry Jewell, who was the head writer for the Muppets, and we were visiting him, and I would ask him questions about the Muppets, like just weird, stupid, geeky questions, and he would go, I don't remember. Just go to Muppet Central and ask them because they know more than I do. It's true, Or go to Tough Pigs. Tough Pigs is another Muppet website. So people tend to be very, very focused on what they know in television puppetry for America, and that's the Muppets. And there's absolutely no denying that the Muppets created a very, very strong impact. But there are lots of other puppets and puppet troops and puppet media to look at, because some of these things Jim Henson watched and took ideas from and got inspired by. And so, it's important that you see where these things come from. A lot of people credit Jim with being the first guy to use the television frame as the proscenium for the puppets. That's only semi-true. There were several other guys to do that before him, including Bob Clampett, who did Beanie and Cecil. And they worked as an animated show and as a puppet show on television. And I'm trying to remember, Bill Baird, when he filmed his puppets, he would use the camera frame as the proscenium. And then you've got other people like Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. That was a classic puppet television show where the puppets were actually behind a little wall, and Fran Allison was there, and she would be in front of the wall and talk to the puppets behind the thing. But Jim was a very creative guy, but he didn't do it all. And there are some things that you'll see that probably came before him that he was inspired by.
So one of our obsessions, other than collecting books on puppetry, is collecting video. And lots of people are like, you still buy DVDs? And it's like, well, a lot of these things, they come out on DVD once, and then they vanish forever. You can't find them on YouTube, you can't find them, on Hulu. So I just ran home and was like, oh, we can do this, we can projection? Okay. I ran home and just grabbed a bunch of stuff out of the box. So this has no order in particular in relation to his talk, but I am going to kind of randomly insert things and play stuff in the background, and we might stop and talk a little bit about what's going on.
Can I just ask you to describe real quick what type of puppetry you're going to refer to? Are you talking about
Everything.
the people in suits? Are you talking more
I'm gonna talk about all
the
of it.
marionette puppets or
Yep.
marionettes?
Yeah, so
Everything that I can find,
All of the above, okay.
because it's really broad. It's really funny how puppets, the word puppet has kind of a bad rap. A puppet is something that is controlled, and we use it in relation to, in a negative context, talking about a puppet president, or you're my puppet, or that kind of thing. And as such, it's really difficult to find descriptive terms other than just puppet. There's puppet and there's marionette. And that's really it, unless you start saying things like hand puppet, or shadow puppet, or string puppet, or fist puppet, or
Body puppet.
body puppet, and so the word puppet has to carry all of this weight as a descriptor. And if you watched any of the Henson challenge, Creature Challenge, when they started advertising that show, they were trying really, really hard to redefine puppet by calling it creature. And then they did a little, like an ad that was like, this is a puppet, and he's not hiding anything. We all know he's a puppet. This is a creature, and it's lifelike, and it's bone. I'm like, no, it's still a puppet. It's an inanimate object being controlled by a human being to look like it's alive. It's a puppet. I understand why they were trying to make that rebranding choice, but like the puppet, they're not fooling anybody. Real quick, this imagery that's up on the screen, this is one of my favorite weird things. It's called Gimme Gimme Octopus. It's from Japan, and it was early 70s. So this is contemporary with some of the Sid and Marty Krofft things that were on in the early 1970s. Gimme Gimme Octopus is the red character, and he is everything that the Japanese perceive as antisocial or disgusting or mean. He portrays all of these things, and so his little friend. Let's see, right now he's being lazy, and but his little friend, his cucumber friend or his gourd friend, usually takes the brunt of his antisocialness.
And the weird pink walrus girl.
Yes, because we have to have a girl character.
Is his girlfriend,
His
and he's
girlfriend.
horrible to her too. I mean, it's
Yes.
just like, this is what you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, but it's still funny. So they're using a negative example as something that's funny. He does stuff like he'll force feed his friend something and then punch him in the stomach and make him throw it up. And that's funny. I don't think so, but it's just disgustingly funny, like a train wreck.
Go
So,
ahead,
anyway.
I'm just gonna keep swapping things out.
I've got a big list, and so it's going to be a little bit freeform. I'll probably gloss over some things and really, really try to drive home for you to see other things, because there are some really nice quality work out there that's going on or that has been done that is available for you to see. The very first one that I would bring up is a movie called Strings. And Strings is, she's got it here. We'll show you a little clip of that. Strings is a movie made with marionettes, and it was made in Sweden? European country. Anyway, they were very, very wise because they knew that they wanted to dub this film into lots of different languages, because it is kind of a universal story. It's very Shakespearean, the way the story is. It's about a young prince whose father is killed by his uncle, and boy, that doesn't sound familiar at all. But they're all marionettes, and they are aware that they are marionettes. But what they perceive as their strings, they're strings, but they just go infinitely up into the sky. So
I pulled up the trailer.
Okay.
So, we kind of want to try and make this an entry into the dead dog category for Cinema Rex, even though they haven't shown it. So we might ask you all to go and submit it. We want to see this for the dead dog part. So I'm not sure if I can get the sound to play through the mic, but I'll give it a try.
Dreams from heaven create all life on earth. A son is born to reveal. But in the innocence of youth,
You have the tingles, Mom.
he is this for your sister. Guard her more closely than your own life. But beware of my wicked brother. When his eyes are open to the plight of his people, he sets out to avenge his father's death.
You mustn't go.
Let go of my strings.
Don't leave me, Hal. It'll be the death of me.
On a quest into the unknown, he will find an answer in the face of an enemy. Kill the boy. Strength in the face of adversity.
He's getting this wacko has to be Sonny Mahoney. He's the son of the core. This idiot's got desert fever.
And love in the face of a stranger.
Now look up. Can you see where you end? And where you end and I begin? In that way, we are all connected.
But a traitor awaits his return.
We are all connected.
So, it's really, really cool. They spent a lot of time thinking about what a world populated by marionettes would be like. And you saw some of it in the trailer. The grid that they were being dropped down in, that's a prison. If your strings can't go outside the hole that you're in, you're trapped. As you're watching, you'll see the city. When he leaves the city, they raise the gates of the city. Well, the gates are actually just a bar that comes up out of the ground. You can still see right through, but since there's a bar there, the bad guy's strings can't pass that bar, and so it's a gate. It's a really, really cool concept, and the marionette work is wonderful, and the character design is wonderful. And like I said, they were very, very smart because they wanted to translate it into so many languages. They didn't do any kind of mouth movement, so it's all just narration over the top of kind of a static face. But the voice acting is good enough that it carries it. So,
In fact, if you're a Hellboy fan, Hellboy movie fan, the second Hellboy movie, if you watch the opening sequence, it's really obvious that whoever designed the opening sequence had watched Strings, because it's very similar in style and sort of story flow.
yeah. So that's the first one. That's a big one. I recommend that you find that. It is available on Netflix, I think, still.
Yeah.
So, if you have Netflix, you can either stream it or get it on DVD and watch it. But I also encourage you to just buy the DVD because I've watched it probably about 10 times. It's so beautiful.
If you can find it.
If you can find it. Recent stuff that's been happening in puppets, the play Warhorse. The Handspring Puppet Company out of South Africa is doing these fantastic rattan horses for this play. And they develop them, and they go and they teach everyone. They literally, they'll travel, they'll send a representative to each city that the show is playing in, because they don't do a lot of stock players. They'll move the production to a new city, but they'll hire in a bunch of actors to play the roles. And one of them is the horse, and there's 4 or 5 people who play the horse.
There are 3.
Okay, so 3 are actually in the horse.
There's 3, and then there's 2 that play the foal.
Okay,
3 in each of the adults.
okay. And the work that they're doing there is just phenomenal. You see a rattan work horse with your eyes, but your brain is perceiving a real horse. It's just amazing. In fact, there's a great TED Talk that you can find on YouTube where they bring the horse out, and even through the simple movements available from that big rattan horse, you swear the damn thing is a horse. And in fact, when the show came here, they brought the rattan horse out into the street and met up with a police officer riding a horse. And the police officer's horse started reacting to the rattan horse like a real horse. So that was very cool. The horse's name was Joey. Other recent things. Oh,
Have you looked at the stuff with Artichoke?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Artichoke, French production company, they do massive scale puppets.
Oh, okay. Are they the ones that do the like the elephant?
They did the Sultan's Elephant.
Okay, those are fantastic. I didn't actually have those on my list. But they do live
Them and
performances.
the other one in France, Lille de Machine.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's actually kind of their,
They're the same.
it's their bench haven. It's where the big puppets go when they're done.
Yeah, they well, let's see. They did a little girl, and they did the Sultan's Elephant.
Oh,
There's-
they've got more now. They've got a giant crab monster.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that one. I can look that up.
Because they're out of Knott's, so they're out of the birthplace of Jules Verne, so they did a big Jules Verne thing. So
Very cool. So that's something to look forward to.
if I had internet signal, I could pull up some of these things, but I don't.
Let's see. Avenue Q. Everybody's seen Avenue Q, right? It's a great show, and as much as those puppets tend to look Muppety, they are not Muppets. The original characters were designed by. Now you see my weakness. Memory. Rick Lyon. Rick Lyon was the guy who designed those, and he worked for a long time with the Henson Company. Of course, his work is going to look similar. It's going to have a different, similar flavor to it. He was originally the guy who was supposed to take over Kermit the Frog, but when Jim Henson passed away, oh wait, I'm talking about Muppets. Stop it. We can talk about Muppets later.
We're talking about other things influenced that are.
Okay. Toby Froud, the baby in Labyrinth, just did this film. Lessons learned.
Heather Henson.
Purely a coincidence.
No, it's not, but Heather Henson took over, I would say, one of her father's big things, which is Jim always was showing other puppeteers, like the guy who
Bruce Schwartz.
Bruce Schwartz on the Muppet Show. So he was actually trying to champion people going out and finding other puppeteers and types of puppetry. And so Heather kind of divested herself from the rest of the family. She's not in part of Henson Corporation. And she does this thing called Handmade Puppet Dreams.
Yeah.
Which is a series of short films every year that she hand picks and does at film festivals. And there's lots of people we know who've been involved in this. Obviously, Toby Froud, son of Wendy and Brian Froud, last year did this short film called Lessons Learned, which is obviously very much in the style of Labyrinth, Dark Crystal. Because I wonder who designed most of Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. That would be his dad, Brian. So Brian of India.
But he actually did a Kickstarter to fund that, and I think he crushed it in like a week.
Yeah, I have funded almost every puppet project on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So,
That's why we have this DVD, is because that was,
and one of the things we have discovered is the puppet people always get their stuff done. It just takes usually a year longer than they think. And you don't get your fulfillment, because once they want to enter it into film festivals, they can't send you a copy of the DVD until it's gone through all the film festivals. So I'm currently waiting on about 6 really good puppet films.
yeah. Well, we were supposed to have our copy of I Am Big Bird months and months ago. And that's been going around to the film festivals. And so I hear it's a great film. I haven't seen it yet.
Because they didn't play it here.
Actually, they did. It played at the Riverview, or was it the Trylon?
It might have been the Uptown. It might have been the Lagoon, one of the lagoons.
Oh, I think it was Lagoon.
It was Lagoon.
But anyway, let's see. Other things, other recent puppet films. Everybody's seen Team America, right?
Right.
I hate Team America. And that's from a puppeteer's perspective. They were using the joke of bad puppetry, and I get that, but to a puppeteer it's only funny for about a minute. And then after that you start going, oh God, please just puppeteer the right way. And they were purposely aping the Jerry Anderson stuff out of England, Thunderbirds and Supercar and all those super marionation films. And like everybody, they were on a budget, they were on a time constraint, and no, they would get the shot and they would move on. And that's how you make TV. It's not necessarily the best system, but when you have a weekly series to get on the air, you get what you need and you move on. Movies have a lot more, they get a lot more time to do the things that they need to do, because they have a long planning schedule and they're only doing 1 2-hour thing. But yeah, so the Jerry Anderson stuff, yes, maybe the puppeteering quality was a little dodgy, but everybody loves it. And like all the bad sci-fi of the 1970s, we all watch it anyway because that was what we grew up on. Part of their whole thing for their film was making fun of the quality of the puppetry. And like I said, to me it's funny for about a minute. Some of the other jokes, pretty good, but it was kind of a grind to get through to watch bad puppetry for that long. And purposeful bad puppetry. So, what else you got? FBI warning, that was a great puppet show. Oh, okay. You had a question?
Have you seen Manuel's Hands of Felt yet?
I have not seen Manuel's Hands of Felt. And that's something that I would have to.
Kickstarter.
That was Kickstarter? Okay. I have not seen that
We
yet.
have met those people.
Coming up, Greg the Bunny,
Oh, yeah.
which was one of I really love Greg the Bunny, and
It's Greg the Bunny, the best of the film parody.
We're doing a Pulp Fiction parody? You guys made freaking 3 movies since then, at least.
Now available in a 2 DVD set.
I'm pretty sure we're shooting this whole thing on high-def DV, which is kind of light years ahead of us.
Shut up, Stan.
Join Greg
Yeah, you're blue and glary. Dance around.
and his pals, Warren the Ape,
Don't think I haven't seen that look of disgust before, lady.
Count Blah,
Boy, can you bring me a cigarette while they're fixing the lights?
and oh yeah, Seth Green.
Does this mean that you won't be joining us for revive soon?
That does mean that.
And their hilarious spoofs of films such as Godfather, Natural Born Killers, and Easy Rider.
Yeah, if I had a middle finger, I'd give it to you.
Special features include 2 featurettes, commentary by the show's creators, deleted scenes, gag reel, and photo gallery.
And that's how I got a 52 board.
This is a note for the family.
It's in the Bible.
And not for the kiddies.
Unleash the camera, motherfucker!
It's Greg the Bunny.
I did a
best
scan of
the
the
film
audience real
parody.
quick.
so Dan Milano started Greg the Bunny in New York, and it was like a New York public access thing. And really what he was doing was just taking this hand puppet and going around and talking to people on the street. And they ended up getting some of those on the IFC, Independent Film Channel. And after they ran those, their little bits that they did for public access, somebody at Fox said, why don't we do a series of this? And so they did a TV series. They only got one season. And I know Dan, and I've talked to him about it, and his tales of woe go on for days dealing with Fox. He said originally they wanted to do a lot more kind of ad-lib sort of stuff, but the Fox people were just like, no, it's got to be in the script. We have to run this by everybody. It has to be approved by everybody. And they're like, well, there goes our whole concept for the show. Because everybody who's worked with puppets knows that the funniest stuff is what happens when the camera is not supposed to be on. And, when the puppeteers kind of go off and weird things occur. The biggest laughs we ever got with Transylvania Television was the gag reel, our mistakes. So, they did Greg the Bunny on Fox, and then they came back to IFC and did the Best of the Film parodies. Then they did on MTV, they did a War and the Ape show, and I think that lasted for a season. And then Dan went to work for DreamWorks as a writer. So he kind of didn't really enjoy working on TV too much because of the executive interference. Syphil and Ollie. I've never run across that. Is it? Okay. I'm going to make a note. I'm going to learn things today too. I'm assuming it's SIFL.
Yep.
And A&D or ampersand?
Mostly sock puppets.
Okay. And speaking of sock puppets, one of my favorite sock puppet things is on YouTube. You can find them. All right, okay, I'm trying to remember the full name. Scottish Falsetto Sock Puppet Theater. Some of the funniest things I've ever seen with sock puppets ever. Basically it's just two characters talking, and they're really, really poorly constructed sock puppets. One of them has an eyeball.
If you have to start with one, I would start with the Daleks one.
Yeah.
So Doctor Who and the Scottish Falsetto, but Doctor Who and the Daleks. It's also one of the best. It's got this great aware of your medium, because they actually acknowledge the YouTube frame that's around them. It's really fun.
Yeah.
I've got to see them live.
Awesome.
You are so lucky, Ryan.
But it's like one guy, and he's got one puppet on each hand, and he's talking to himself. And the voices really don't change that much. But, he's talking like this all the time, and they're all sock puppets. It's hilarious. I do a bad impersonation. You gotta watch the real thing. What is this? What is this?
I can't remember which ones of these are puppets and which ones are. I'm gonna pick one at random.
The Scottish Puppet Theater production of Wolf in the Walls.
Wolf in the Walls?
Yeah, the Dave Gideon book.
Okay.
Wolf in the Walls, they did a puppet.
Oh, wow. What are you showing us? I don't even know what this is.
So, anybody here a fan of Neil Gaiman, Sandman? If you are, you're probably familiar with Dave McKean, who did a lot of the covers and some of the artwork. He does a lot of short films. He did Mirror Mask. It's mostly Dave McKean stuff. So this is a random thing of his short films, and he does a lot of puppetry ones. I just can't, his name, the video names are not something that I remember, so I'm gonna just see if I can find one of his puppets. This is not. There's one where he does Punch and Judy, only he does it with live actors.
Yes.
It's really easy.
In case you don't know about Punch and Judy, Punch and Judy is a puppet show that has its roots a long way back in European history. We all know Mr. Punch. He's the guy with the hook nose and the humpback and the kind of crooked hat, and he goes around beating people to death, including a baby, his wife, the constable, the devil, an alligator, a dog, the judge, everybody he meets, he ends up beating to death. And as a puppet offering, it can be very funny and entertaining on a puerile level. It was also used a lot to talk about politics of the time. And unfortunately, when Dave McKeon decided to make it as a live actor property, you begin to see how really twisted this property is, because suddenly you're dealing with a live human being doing these terrible, terrible things, which only a puppet can get away with.
You seen the Human Show?
No.
Pardon?
The Human Show?
I have not seen The Human Show.
It's a Muppet show parody, except the Muppets are controlling humans.
Okay.
It's disturbing as hell.
The Human Show. Now, I have seen Puppets That Kill,
Yeah.
which is a Canadian show, and it's most of it is these really poorly behaved puppets trying to go through psychoanalysis, like group therapy, and so they do a lot of that. And I think it's a human character ends up getting a puppet roommate that is violent. So that's interesting. Let's see, what else we got? I mentioned Avenue Q, right? Recent things, Apollo's Pad was a YouTube property that ended up getting its own series, I believe, in Canada. Very much, very different looking puppets. They were, all of them were based on this one designer's work. All the characters are really very tall and thin, but they're all made from latex. So they're kind of rubbery and shiny, and they're people, but it's all in this kind of, this African-American puppet is, it's Apollo's Pad, and so it's all 70s kind of disco-y sort of thing, and there's a cast of characters that come in, and including one horrifically white puppet who thinks that he's a rapper, and so there's making a lot of fun of that. That was appearing on the internet around about the time that I started Transylvania Television, so that was about 2007. There was another one, and I wish I could remember the name. The guy uses a lot of rod puppets, and it was monsters living in a castle, just like Transylvania Television, except it was, the main character was a little boy who comes to live in the castle with all these monsters. And it was a lot more family-friendly material than what we did. Glove and Boots, if anybody's familiar with them. They're Glove and Boots, very popular right now on the internets. They do a lot of geek subject matter, and they're, I think one's a prairie dog, and
So this is whack. This is the Punch and Judy live action one, but it goes on for a long time. I just found it, so.
So obviously there's a lot of screaming going on.
Give me one little kiss. No, Mr. Punch. No kisses for you tonight. Oh, Judy, one little kiss. You have to come and get it. Okay, I'm coming, Judy. I'm coming to get it. Give me one little kiss. Okay, but just one. Oh. Give me another one. No, just one kiss a day, Mr. One kiss a day. Give me another kiss. Come on. Oh, kissy, kissy, kissy.
So,
Come on, Judy. Come on, Judy.
imagine this being done by a couple of puppets. Your brain does a disconnect, and the puppets are, it's not really acceptable behavior, but it's puppets, so they're not people anymore, and you can disconnect that activity. Seeing real humans doing it gets disturbing really, really quickly, and I think that was his point. I want to go in a different direction because this is really weird and screwy.
I
find happy things.
Happy things. The Mill at Calder's End.
Oh, yeah.
There's a young man named Kevin McTurk who is currently doing a lot of very cool steampunky kind of puppet work. His first movie was called The Narrative of Victor Carlock, and it was about a man in a deep diving suit, Victorian style, you know, the big helmet kind of thing and stuff, but he like is haunted while he is under the sea, so he's like in his suit moving, you know, through the water, and then there are ghosts. Very weird, very strange and spooky. But he's now working on a new film called The Mill at Calder's End. Both of these, I think, were Kickstartered and also supported by Heather Henson and her foundation. Pardon? The Mill at Calder's End. Now, along with those,
Yeah, that one is currently traveling the film circuit. It's
Okay.
also horror, it's kind of gothic horror.
yeah,
So again, Kickstartered it, haven't seen it yet.
it's great. There's another gentleman. His name is Sam Koji Hale. He did a short film called Yamasong, which probably you couldn't find.
It's one I couldn't find.
Okay. It's a really cool short film. The main character is kind of this turtle sort of. The girl's the main character. Okay, so there's a turtle character. There's a girl character. The turtle is kind of a ninja, not really a ninja, more of a samurai guy.
It's very Asian influenced mythology, kind of steampunky. It's basically a music video.
Yeah.
But then he kickstarted another movie called Monster of the Sky, which he hasn't finished yet because he got funding to do a full-length feature version of Yamasong, which he's working on right now. And he's got basically every voice talent you can think of doing voices for it. So it's got
He's got Nathan Fillion, George Takei, everybody who's been doing the convention circuit. Malcolm McDowell, yeah. So they're all doing voices for his movie, and so it's going to be a star-studded affair.
It's the first feature-length puppet movie to be made in the United States since Team America.
Yeah. Now, I actually offered to help him on it, and he gave me an assignment, and then we had a really bad year, and so I ended up having to duck out on him, and I really feel bad about it.
That was the year you quit your job.
That was the year I quit my job and became a puppet guy full time. That's kind of a good thing. So hopefully I can hook up with Sam again later on and exploit his wealth. Let's see, what else we got? Evidently Guillermo del Toro is working on a production of Pinocchio. I haven't seen anything about it. I don't really know anything about it. If you know anything about it, shout it out, because I haven't been able to find anything.
Only heard it was out there.
Terry Gilliam was working on a puppet film called 1884, and I haven't been able to find anything on that either. It might be on hold. It might be...
It's Terry Gilliam.
It's Terry Gilliam.
I'm sure he's cursed. So.
Well, the thing is that he also just got back the rights to his movie about La Mancha, Don Quixote, so he might have just skipped and started doing that again. I ran across a title for a film called The Mysterious Explorations of Jasper Morello, and I haven't seen it. I don't know what it's about. I'm told it's a puppet film and that you might be able to find it on the web.
It is and I'll show you some Lottie Renninger stuff here before the end. It is a shadow puppet, stop motion, basically animated.
Okay.
So.
Mysterious Explorations of
Victor Morello, or Jasper Morello.
Jasper Morello. That is on YouTube, I know.
Okay.
It's about 15 minutes long.
Other great puppet work that you have seen, that you haven't really seen, is in Oz the Great and Powerful. The China girl, the little China doll girl. Originally, a guy that we know,
Phil Huber.
Phil Huber.
Phil
Sorry.
Huber.
Phil Huber is a fantastic marionette guy. It was him. The first puppetry festival I ever went to was in 2000. And before I went to this puppetry festival, my opinion of marionettes was that it's somebody shaking a doll around on strings, I don't care. Until I saw Phil Huber do his act. When someone knows what they're doing with a marionette, it blows your mind. Absolutely just amazing stuff. And so Phil was hired. Phil's done a lot of work in films. He did a lot of work on Being John Malkovich. He did a lot of work on Team America, but there was some kind of weirdness going on there, and I don't remember exactly what happened. But so he was hired to be the digital reference for the little China girl in Oz Great and Powerful. So Phil was wearing a blue screen suit and marionetting a perfect copy of the little China girl. And then they would take that footage, and in some cases I think they just removed him and left the puppet, or they would replace the puppet and him in digital with a digital copy of the little China girl.
He did some stuff in screen too, so
Okay.
actually on set. So he would be up and
Okay.
doing the marionetting, and then they would remove the strings, and they would add in her face.
Okay. But that's probably one of the few reasons to really watch that film. I didn't enjoy it too much. It just didn't feel right. I didn't like the feel of the film in itself, and I didn't think the story played out very well. But the little China girl was a fantastic character, and Phil's performance was
And
quite
really,
a bit of
I
that.
think a really excellent example of, people talk about, CG versus puppet versus, they shouldn't be versus, they should be and this is a really good case of and. So it was a puppet and it was augmented with CG, so you get kind of the best of both things. You get that sort of immediate interaction with it, and then they can, tweak it a little bit so that you don't see the strings or, the face moves or whatever it is.
Having something live and tactile for an actor to react with or to play against has proven to be more and more vital. Actors are busy worrying about all the things that they need to do to portray their character, and then they're asked to do it in a completely blank environment, against a tennis ball on a stick. And it's like that's really kind of unfair. I know that for Guardians of the Galaxy, the director's brother, who is also one of the guys on the ship, the pirate guys. He's like second in command. He played Rocket Raccoon as a puppet. He was wearing a blue screen suit and stuff, and they just so the actors would have something to react against. We need to have a Rocket Raccoon, and they need to be able to see the raccoon. They need to be able to see where its eyes are so they can talk to it. And it worked out great. I think some of it looks so much better when an actor knows what the physical thing is that they're interacting with is supposed to be, as opposed to, you need to imagine this, and here's the dot that you think is supposed to be that thing. Really, like I say, it's unfair for the actor to have to do that kind of thing.
So there's a question?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask about the movie, like Ted and now the sequel. Is that strictly CGI, or is that a combination of puppetry and CGI?
Strictly CGI. And if you watch carefully, you'll see that Ted's fur stretches and deforms. You don't have to. I'm just telling you. I was fairly impressed with it, but there's still a long way to go, and they probably could have saved a lot of money just using a real puppet.
On the other hand, the equivalent in puppet form is Teddy from AI.
Yeah. Ted from AI. He was cable controlled puppet, and he made everybody cry. there's a great commercial that's on the air, a couple of great commercials on the air now with this, some video download service that I can't remember which one it is, but there's a kangaroo. And it's a CG kangaroo, but they're doing really, really well. It's supposed to look like a stuffed animal, but they're doing really, really well on animating that character for those commercials. But then again, you're talking, they only have to animate enough for a 30-second commercial, so they can really put a lot of effort into it.
There's a lot of Edgar Allan Poe puppetry, and a lot of Edgar Allan Poe puppetry videos out there.
That's not one.
Well, the Raven is. Yes.
Is it?
The Raven
there we go.
is.
You switched that up on me, and I didn't know.
Yeah. So, it seemed all puppeteers want to make a little puppet movie at some point, and Edgar Allan Poe seems to be the go-to. So, there's another one called Telltale Heart. There's a couple Telltale Hearts. In fact, this one has a couple Telltale Hearts on it too.
I forgot the Pupheads.
Pupheads, they're Telltale Heart.
Yeah.
Which somebody stole our DVD of that one.
Really?
It just hasn't returned.
I'll have to find out who that is and get it back.
It's the same one who has early copy of Strings.
Okay. Oh, Ulysses. Okay. We know a guy named Ulysses Awesome. Isn't that cool?
With marionettes, can they actually make them with something like fishing line so that you don't see the string? Or is there a reason that they wouldn't?
Well, marionettes, every marionette artist is different, and they'll work with something different. Most of the time, they'll use a woven fishing line, so it's like black or dark gray or whatever. The problem with using a clear line is, number one, it's usually like a polyester or a plastic, and so it'll stretch. The other problem is that it's usually shiny. It's clear, you're still getting a reflection off of it, and you're still going to see it, especially if you're lit poorly. Yeah, there's all kinds of tricks that marionette people use. I'm not a marionette guy, so I don't have specifics. There's a great guy in town. His name is Kurt Hunter. If you ever get a chance to watch him do his show, do it. He's really good.
He does a lot of stuff through Open Eye Theater. There's lots of puppet companies in town.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier the Jerry Anderson shows. So Fireball XL5, Supercar, Thunderbirds. That's a lot of puppets, and they're all on DVD. And if you can't find them on DVD, they're on YouTube.
What about Space Patrol?
Space Patrol. I'm not familiar with Space Patrol.
It was a show that he did later, and he did it for Canadian TV.
Okay, was that the one with people in makeup and stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
that was the people in the costumes.
Okay, I don't remember. I never saw that one. I remember seeing action figures, but I don't know if that one's on DVD or not. I'm sure if you go to the Jerry Anderson website, they'll have a listing of that.
I found a copy on DVD.
Oh, cool. Awesome. What do you got up here? Oh.
So this is not new, but when you're talking about Jasper Morello, their look and style is very similar to this. This is Lottie Reininger. If you don't know of her, and most people don't, she worked from the 20s through the early 60s, I think, maybe even in the 70s. She does shadow puppets and mostly shadow puppet animation. So, Disney gets a lot of credit for Snow White being the first full-length animated movie. Actually, The Adventures of Prince Ahmed predates that by about 15 years. Worked in Germany, worked in England. There's really cool stuff out there about her. But it's all manipulated shadow puppets. So she did a lot of stage live production too. But this is all done in, picture, move, because if we go into stop motion, you know, that's another type of puppetry, making something look alive. So I'll let this play in the background for a little bit. It's also very Metropolis. I think this is 22. I have to look.
Yeah, for stop motion puppetry, stop motion animation. they're-
26.
It's funny because animators will claim it and puppeteers will claim it. But you've got guys like Art Clokey who did Gumby. He was early in the game using the 3D puppets to animate. Trying to think of who did was it Art Clokey that did Davy and Goliath? I think it might have been. But so yeah, he was early on television with that kind of thing. Another guy is Bill Baird. You might have dim recollections of that name.
Sound of Music.
Bill Baird did the number in Sound of Music, the goat herd number in Sound of Music. But he also did a lot. He had a theater for many, many years, and he also did television specials. He did a Winnie the Pooh television special, all with marionettes. And if you can find it, it's actually fun to watch. It actually stays much closer to the source material than the Disney cartoons. The characters look a lot more like the drawings in the original book. And I think the copy that I have is introduced by Shirley Temple. They did a TV special and she introduced the show. He also did a thing called Davy Jones' Locker, which was an original story. When you see a book that features the work of Bill Baird, they usually have pictures from Davy Jones' Locker because it was a really big production, and the marionettes were spectacular. It was an underwater piece, so you had fishes and you had seahorses that were pulling a big shell kind of coach, and the Prince Triton is sitting in the coach with and it was just an amazing marionette production. And a lot of the guys who are big names in puppetry now had worked with Bill Baird in the past. So Marty Robinson, the guy who does Telly Monster on Sesame Street, he worked with the Bill Baird Company. Sharon Baird is, I believe, the daughter of Bill Baird, and she worked as one of the characters on HR Puffin Stuff. She worked with the Croft people. In fact, she was Judy Frog on HR Puffin Stuff, if you remember that character. Also modern things. We've got some really modern, popular puppeteers that we don't talk about much because we don't really think about ventriloquism and puppetry as the same thing. It's usually ventriloquism, right? But Terry Fader and Jeff Dunham are two of the most famous modern ventriloquist guys, and they are still both going gangbusters. I mean, I know Jeff Dunham. He does a special every year, does a comedy routine special every year, and that's on cable. And Terry Fader, I believe, has his own theater in Las Vegas now, and is doing his show.
And the woman's name. The woman who puts the masks on
Oh,
the people
yeah.
makes it top.
The Australian.
Gal, and I've completely forgotten. I don't
She
remember.
did a documentary that you'd probably love to see, that she was mentored by this other ventriloquist, and it was the story of her taking, because he passed away, and it was the story of her taking his dummies to Bentley.
I wonder if that was Clinton Detweiler. Clinton Detweiler was the name. He was king of ventriloquist everything. In fact, Terry Fader did a tribute to him, and I actually I knew Clinton via phone. For several years, I was doing ventriloquist dummies for Jay Johnson, who Jay Johnson was on Soap, the old TV show Soap. I believe he also appeared on Henson. But he was doing these things, they were corporate gigs, where he would have me redress a ventriloquist dummy to look like the CEO of a company, and then would go in and use the dummy to do a shtick for their, year-end dinner or whatever. But I had a point and I lost it. So.
Talking about ventriloquist dummies.
Oh, yes. So I got all the ventriloquist dummies that I used for Jay, I got from Clinton. And when I was dealing with him, I had no idea that he was the big deal that he was. But evidently, he knew every ventriloquist. And, yes?
Nina Conti.
Nina Conti, there you go. Look her up.
And the film is called Her Master's Voice.
Her Master's Voice, okay, I'm gonna find that. But yeah, look her up on YouTube, because her stuff is hilarious. She did, was the monkey? She did one with a monkey.
She's got a little monkey.
Yeah.
But she also takes random people from the audience and puts these masks on them that she can control, and ventriloquists them talking to each other.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful bit of awkwardness.
Yes.